Hey, y'all, Pastor Emil here with another episode of Sweet Jesus. Taste and see that the Lord is good. Ice cream is sweet, but Jesus is sweeter. Back here with my buddy Scott. We are not having ice cream. We're old. we can only do that once in a great while, I guess. Had too much ice cream probably already this weekend, but lots of things in life are sweet, but Jesus is far sweeter. That's why we're here. Jordan Peterson, some of the intellectual things that he's got to share in his book that we're going to start going through here today. Really sweet stuff, amazing stuff, wonderful stuff. And I think actually we see Jesus in this. I see Jesus in this, or I see Jesus as sort of the epitome of what he is trying to explain and what he's trying to do in people. So I'm excited to dive in a little bit, but what were your thoughts here, my friend? What as you listened, you said to the Audible audiobook, which was narrated by Jordan Peterson.
Yes.
Right.
He
56 minutes.
I like him better live than reading. But yeah, I guess with his science background, he goes into a lot of different topics, biological type topics. So some of that's kind of tough to wade through in a way, but it's like, what are we talking about here? Lobsters, birds? Are there some fish involved? I can't remember.
Bearded dragon. There was a bearded dragon.
Yeah, they did talk about. He did say something about wolves.
Yeah, there was wolves.
And there was something he did talk about the chimpanzees, didn't he?
Chimpanzees, yeah.
Yeah, so there's a lot of biology going on in there. So, but yeah, interesting stuff.
56 minutes, and you were suggesting or trying to suggest that, well, if he could do it in 56 minutes, we should be able to do it faster than that.
Well, you had sent me the condensed version that he. I'm thinking, wait a minute, I just listened to 56 minutes, and he did a condensed version in about 8. So, but he didn't give all his interesting examples. He kind of just cut to the chase, which you kind of, it's like,
yeah,
telling the beginning, once upon a time, and they lived happily ever after kind of thing, and nothing in the middle. So,
well, and he. 56 minutes or however many pages it was, 20 pages plus 30 pages in that first chapter, there's a lot of stuff in there.
Yes.
I mean, I think it's phenomenal. Like, I actually think there's value in reading it all just because there's so many little tidbits that you can pull out on any given page that actually, and I believe this is true for the rest of the book too. As I had gone through it all once. I'm kind of going through it again, but I remember going through it the whole book the first time. I mean, there was just little tidbits, and it wasn't even necessarily directly connected to the theme for that chapter or that particular rule, but it was just wow. I mean, that's something I can take home and apply. But if you don't dig into it, and you don't go through the whole thing, because there's actually parts in this first chapter I was going, oh wait, maybe we don't have to talk about that tonight because that actually connects to another rule that's coming up, and but all these things kind of fit together, they build, and I think they do a whole lot to help you understand the way we are, the way people are, the way we're wired. How we work and how we can work better in the world, and some of the things that maybe we're doing and we don't realize we're doing, or we're doing wrong and we don't know necessarily that it's wrong, or even if we do know, we don't know how to kind of get ourselves out of it. You just need like a little nugget of something, and you finally just have that aha moment. Mm-hmm. And I felt like I had a ton of those throughout this book. So that's why we're going to in 56 minutes, we're not going to get through everything that he talked about, but you could take 56 minutes multiple times to pick apart each little nugget that's in here,
Right.
right?
Right. Yeah, because I've been through it twice myself now. I was reading along with listening to it the first time, and then I just put it back on today and listened to it, and I was like, I didn't even remember that in the first time I went through it, so
Yeah.
yeah, it's a lot. There's some nuggets in there.
Lots of stuff. But the condensed version, for those that may not have all the interest in all the other stuff, is basically this rule is stand up straight with your shoulders back, right?
As I'm trying not to slouch.
As we're slouching in our seats, right? And in that condensed YouTube video that he had, he referred to this as a comical rule.
Yes.
That was a meditation on the habits of lobsters. You're like, what does this have to do with anything?
Yeah, I didn't get that at all when he said this was a comical rule, but okay.
Yeah. And it's kind of just present yourself to the world in a way that doesn't disgrace yourself. Stand up straight with your shoulders back is an encouragement to confront the world in a courageous manner. I think he said forthrightly and in a courageous manner. And I think that's something that we could all use. In fact, you had texted me, I forget, a couple of days ago maybe or something like that about last week. I needed this rule.
Oh.
So last week after our podcast, and maybe it came through in the actual podcast. Maybe I came through like, I don't know. I was feeling tired. It was a long trip home from the Northeast, and definitely feeling a little down, despondent, frustrated, whatever, about a variety of things. And that's not a way to face the world or face your problems, right? That's kind of what he's getting at. Right? I mean, does that make sense? Is that
that's
anything you'd add?
Anything that I would add to that?
To the basic, hey, here's up front what Rule 1 is basically about.
Right. He also said that when you stand straight with your shoulders back, you're, I guess, more open and at the same time more vulnerable, but you present yourself as being, I think he said honest. So, you're not hiding anything. So when
honest, confident.
Yeah. So when people see you, hey,
Yeah.
He's not sneaking around doing stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're like, that's what hiding something. Criminals, right? They're hiding things. They're crouching over to cover up the thing that they got in their pocket or in their belt or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't remember picking up on that. That's good. That's good. So what do lobsters and birds and chimpanzees and wolves, and what does that have to do with facing the world with courage, confronting the world in a courageous manner?
Well, if I can do it any justice, his example was lobsters, neurology, and the effect of serotonin on them. So if they act in a certain way, they, I don't know, what would you say? They become more of a formidable foe. They take on their world, and other things see them, other creatures see them, especially other lobsters, and hey, they get out the way, so they get, their prime pick of places to live, and other female lobsters that they might be interested in, and all that type of thing. So, and he also said, which I don't know if we're jumping too far, but they also grow. Don't they grow? He said they grow bigger, stronger. Also, it physiologically, can't say that right now, but yeah.
Yeah. So the lobsters are this great animal to study because they have, I forget exactly the details why, but there's something about studying them because it's a simple system, but they have lots of neurons. They have lots of things that you can actually look at, and then you can sort of take comparisons to humans and to other species, right? And actually, this rule is remarkably, I mean, it's everywhere. Like, it's not just lobsters, it's almost every single being on the planet, every animal, every human. I mean, we behave in a lot of ways just like lobsters, and so that's why he was using this example, and it's about sort of how they find territory and all that kind of stuff. They, they got to battle for limited resources, and one lobster does battle against another lobster, and it starts out with one guy. They kind of do this stretch or whatever to like make themselves as big as possible, sort of, and maybe if one guy is big enough, the other guy will just quit while he's ahead. And then if not, they actually try to like flip each other. And then if that doesn't end the dispute over a prime cave to hide in or live in, right, then they kind of go to the death, right? They start snapping at each other. And I was thinking about that, when I go, I don't know if I see it so much around here, or maybe I just haven't, maybe they don't do it this much anymore. But if you go to a supermarket, they have a tank full of lobsters. You ever see some that are like missing like part of their antenna or something? And I was like, oh, well, that's why, because he got into a fight with, some other lobster over some territory, and and he didn't back down on getting flipped.
Yeah, he was describing them as, I guess what humans would do as negotiation, level 1, level 2, level 3.
Yep.
I'm big, and maybe you think you're big. So if we say this is a standoff, we can negotiate.
Yeah.
Like a little deal here without actually having to.
Dispute resolution level 1, 2, 3, 4. That's what he said. Dispute resolution. Level 1 is just hey, maybe you get someone to back down. Number 2 is this little dance, a pre-fight fight, and if that scares them away, then that's it. And then actual combat, trying to flip them, and then level 4 is actually ripping them apart, sometimes fatally. So, but that's really where everything, it just begins there, because when they win, they get this serotonin infusion, and it grows bigger. All these things change about that lobster, and the chemicals that they give off now communicate to everyone else that they're the top dog.
Right.
And when that happens, it's like the rich getting richer, the strong getting stronger, gets all the ladies, gets all the prime real estate, gets like, it's kind of endless. It's really good to be the king, to quote Mel Brooks.
Right.
It's good to be the king.
I don't know if this is too soon before to throw this in, but I think he was referencing Matthew 25:29.
Yep. He said to the Matthew principle. I wrote something down about that too. Yeah.
Yeah.
To him who has, more will be given. To him who doesn't, even what he has will be taken away. That's the parable of the talents, I believe.
Who knew lobsters were practicing the parable of the talents?
Well, but that's where it is, this universal principle, right? Or many universal principles that we find in nature. So, and then the birds, they're very territorial, and the bigger birds fight away the little birds. Kind of interesting. He got a tape recorder, and he played the sound of the birds chirping, which we think is all pretty and wonderful and nature. But really, they're like scaring off any other potential, competition, right? And he played it back. He got a tape recorder for something, I forget. Oh, he broke his leg skiing. And there's all these, sometimes you don't know whether he's joking or not, but I think this was one of the times where it was pretty obvious. He's like, the school insurance policies that reward clumsy children for, he on his very first ski down the mountain. He broke his leg, and so he got some money, and he got a tape recorder. He recorded the birds and then played it back, and the birds started dive bombing him. I was like, this is very interesting.
Yeah.
Very
You have
interesting.
to try that. See if well, not that you want your kids to get dive bombed, but that would be an interesting home experiment to see what would happen.
It will be. It will be.
Yeah.
But that's, we're constantly in this competition over resources, over all kinds of things. And not that it's always one against the world. I think that's where the chimpanzees come in, where actually when they cooperate, or the wolves, right? A wolf, if they know they're going to lose, they'll just kind of give up and let the dominant wolf win, but then the dominant wolf won't actually kill him because they need a hunting partner, sort of thing, right? And so there is this sense that it's not always just one in it completely for themselves. There does become space for other people, but this is where you get a hierarchy. And who's at the top of the hierarchy? Well, the top of the hierarchy is the one that's one, right? The one that's got this posture and all these physical things that demonstrates to everybody, right? That's a lot. I mean, the application, I think, where he's eventually going here is that with human beings, you may not always win, but if you stand up straight with your shoulders back and you take on that confident posture, that honest and vulnerable but confident posture, it does things to you. There's a physiological thing, or many things that begin to happen when you do that.
Right.
And just like when the lobsters give off their, not just how their posture, but their posture, and then giving off these chemicals and things to communicate, it changes the way other people react to you and respond to you and interact with you. So, and he actually spends a lot of time talking about like OCD, anxiety, all these different human mental health, neurological, whatever issues that we have, and sort of the feedback loops that are created.
Right.
And you got to break them. You got to break them somehow. And one way to do that, a very simple way to do that, is stand up straight with your shoulders back. Because it begins the change. And if that's your rule, you just wake up every day and you attack the day with standing up straight with your shoulders back. It may not happen overnight, but people begin to change around you. And when they change, because you've changed, your world changes. Mm-hmm. So is that fair? Is that kind of, you think where he's going with that makes sense? Or?
Yes. I was thinking, trying to think of human examples of that, and or similar to like the lobster thing. And at church here, we have one person. Well, there's a couple, 2 or 3 guys, but there's one guy in particular that's exceptionally tall. I mean, and when you just see him, right? And I think, and he presents himself that way. He's very like a formidable person.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that is actually, height is generally, I think, correlated with success. I don't know.
Leadership.
Yeah, leadership, because people look to the tall guy. First, everybody has to look to see the tall guy, right? But
I was just thinking, I can't imagine him like being slumped over, and
yeah,
he stands up straight with his shoulders back, so yeah. Anyway, I don't want to call him out, but I was just trying to think of people that I come across that might represent that kind of idea. So
yeah. Well, and one of the, I guess, applications, I think he really gets into this a little bit, and it comes out even more in some of the future rules that, we have this Christian, we tend to be, not that we're not supposed to be humble, but I think maybe we overdo the meekness sometimes.
Well,
We overdo the,
in some of his other, Jordan Peterson's other podcasts or whatever you want to say, and I don't know if I've seen the etymology of the word, but he claims that meek is not what we think it is. Like the definition has changed over time.
Hmm.
He says the word meek back at that time frame meant you were a person that had basically like had a sword and knew how to use it, right? But you kept it sheathed. It's like, I know people looked at you and knew that guy could just maybe just stab me quickly or whatever, attack me with it, but he doesn't. He's meek because he doesn't just draw his sword and use it like that.
yeah, he doesn't resort to it first. That's not
Right.
but he says basically that in this one spot where he says, he's talking about being bullied. And he says, if you can bite, you generally don't have to.
All right.
Right? So people are bullied because they can't and won't fight back. He talks about kids. He talks about all kinds of other stuff in there. But psychological forces are never unidimensional in their value. And so he's saying, like, if you never have that stand up straight with your shoulders back posture, yeah, people are going to walk on you. And that's not necessarily good.
All right.
And it's not just because it's about you. You're actually creating a world where this person gets to get away with injustice. And they're probably not going to stop with you if you let them get away with it. Right? So very interesting. And when you listen to him speak, if you ever see him in any interview, especially people that are hostile to him, I mean, he is cordial, he is respectful, but man, do not think that he is just going to let you walk all over him.
Right.
I mean, he's one tough dude.
Yep.
One real tough dude. But that's the idea, this meek idea that you're talking about. Maybe that is right. I have to look into that. I don't. That's the first time I'm hearing it. So, but that would be.
He says he does, not necessarily with that same thing in other podcasts and things I've listened to him. He'll say that, like he was talking with a former Navy SEAL, and the guy also does like MMA kind of stuff, like as his workouts, kind of thing. And he says, yeah, he's a formidable. I mean, you look at him, he's got the crew cut kind of look or whatever, and he's built like a bull, and it's like he was a Navy SEAL, right? And he's like,
yeah, Jocko guy.
Yeah, Jocko is one. So yeah, he said that's how he's. In other words, yeah, I guess he's meek because if he wanted to,
he could snap you like a toothpick.
Yeah, but he doesn't. But you have that respect, like you're not gonna tell him anything,
mm-hmm.
disrespectful or whatever, because you may pay the price for that. I guess it's kind of that lobsters, making themselves look bigger.
Yeah.
Type of thing, or kind of an extrapolation of the meekness thing. So I don't know.
Well, I've heard a few other folks, different podcasts, different authors. They talk about this idea that, it's Teddy Roosevelt, right? Walk softly, carry a big stick. It's peace through strength. I forget where that originated. Was that a Reagan thing, or was that?
Yeah,
before Ray. I don't know.
I know he used it, right?
Yeah,
but-
peace through strength. And the truth is that the world has pretty much always, actually, there's some really fascinating stuff in here. I know the evolution talk might freak out some people because he uses it pretty extensively. But, I mean, he's making the claim that evolutionarily speaking, this way of working, this way of developing hierarchies and ordering society and ordering culture and ordering from lobsters to humans, right, is older than trees. That part of our brain that does all this, sometimes without us even thinking about it, is older than trees. Like he's saying it's in every single, species. It's all over the place. It's older than trees. So like we can't get away from this. In a sense. And so back to the peace through strength idea, everything, the only peace we have, the only negotiation leverage we ever have is the threat of violence, ultimately.
Right.
Right? That there is someone willing to hurt you if necessary. Right? It's like, not that people do, well, they have to, but you never quite know. And you'd rather not test, like a Navy SEAL that's like, jacked. Wouldn't want to mess with him, right?
No.
And, daughters that have a father in the house, a strong male figure in the house, far less likely to get messed with by boys.
Didn't
Right?
know that.
Yeah, I forget exactly where I read that, but I'm pretty sure that's easy to find. That having that male presence, and we think, oh, well, that's why, mom and dad should stay married and all that kind of stuff. Yes, but what's really going on there? It's the threat of violence. It's this,
It's the country song. You taking out my daughter, I'll be home cleaning my gun.
see you when you get back. Probably be up all night cleaning this gun. Yeah. No. And now, what's the difficulty with this for Christians?
You tell me.
Violence. Right? Are we really advocating for violence?
No.
No, I don't think so. But I don't think we can completely avoid it. I mean, I think we saw that in Israel back in October and the ongoing conflict over there. Not that ultimately solves everything, because here we are still, right? But
Right.
although you could make a case in this framework that the more that they have conceded to an enemy that will never stop, the more they just get abused.
True.
The more they just get bullied, right? So there's that side to it. But I do think ultimately, forgiveness is an important, that's the crucial way to finally get past it. But yeah, so violence is...
It's always hanging out there.
Yeah.
That's the way the broken world that we live in operates, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we're living there now, so we have to be conscious of it.
Yeah. And, I've tried to reconcile this so many times. I don't know if there's really a clean way to do it, but I remember there was a woman in a Bible study I was leading one time, 20, 30 people in the room. And I don't even remember what we were talking about, because I don't think it directly connected. It was connected somehow, but it wasn't like we were talking about, the Second Amendment or something. So she brought up a gun, and her husband is in law enforcement, and he had a gun. And she said, she went on this whole big thing about, it was actually inspiring from this perspective. What she was saying, it was probably about mission, right? She was saying, I have told my husband, if anyone ever breaks into this house, don't you dare shoot them, because if they hurt me, I'm going to go be with Jesus, but I don't know about them, and you need to give them a chance to believe in Jesus.
Mm.
So her missional heart there was wonderful,
Right.
beautiful, inspiring, right? Like, wow, what would that be like to care so much about another person that even while they're robbing you and killing you for your stuff, you're hoping you're going to let them do it and hope that they are somehow brought to the Lord at some point, faith in Jesus. And her husband was sitting there and he's just like, and we got to this point where it was like, okay, well, yes, you should have that mindset, but your husband should shoot him because he's there to guard you and protect you. God put him there for that reason, and so yes, take the guy out. It's kind of like, all right, I don't know how any of this makes sense or how it plays out in the real world, but this is Martin Luther's Two Kingdoms. I don't know if you've ever heard anything about that. But
yes.
This idea that the church operates with forgiveness and mercy and love and compassion and just like kind of perpetually giving out those gifts. But then there's the state. And the state is God's instrument of justice. And so the state carries out punishments. The state does not let the evildoer get off. The state does not, right? All these different things. Because what kind of a world is it if we just let thieves break in and steal and murder innocent civilians? What kind of a world do we have?
That it would be chaos, anarchy,
Mm-hmm.
right? So we kind of mentioned that last time, the yin and the yang, right? So
Yep.
we were dancing on that line in between.
It was in this chapter too. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe that's why. Yeah. So you got to have that balance, right? If you have too much chaos, it's, anarchy. And if you have, too much, what's the other word I'm looking for?
Too much order.
Too much order. It's tyranny.
Yeah.
It's tyranny. So
Yeah.
we dance on that line. So, it's.
Well,
So I don't know what the best answer is in these situations, and I don't know really how we got on that track, but I didn't mean to bring us there necessarily.
well, I don't think you did. I did. I'm the one getting myself in trouble here. Although I know plenty of people that are advocates, obviously, Second Amendment and defending their family and all that kind of stuff. But I know plenty of others who scratch their heads and wonder at Christians who are so interested in, God, guns, and what is the thing,
Yeah. What is it? What is the third one? I don't know. My mind's going blank on that.
Liberty, guns, beer, and I don't know. There's things we probably shouldn't say, but maybe some PG things for the T. I don't know. I've seen that. But God, guns, and family or whatever, I forget. There's a few things out there.
Right.
And there are people that scratch their heads, and so I'm just giving a little bit of both sides there, especially given the fact that that's what we're talking about, right? This is this confidence, right? The lobster immediately begins to have everybody defer to him because he just kicked the living daylights out of this one lobster. And the more lobsters that he beats, the more his chemical composition changes, and then when he meets a female lobster or he meets another male lobster and they're challenging each other to a fight, they let out this stuff by their eyes that has all kinds of different hormones, chemicals, whatever, and they can tell how many battles they've won based on the amount of serotonin or octo something amine.
I don't remember what it was.
But these chemicals, they communicate. And that's why, like in level 2 dispute resolution, people, lobsters, not people, but lobsters back down because they get a whiff of all that stuff and they go, oh, I'm not fighting this guy. No way. And actually, he talked about the losing lobster too. Did you see that part about where their brain basically dissolves?
Right.
like losing, they become a completely different person, not person, but
Yeah.
they completely change. And
Yeah, they really exactly understand that, but I guess their brain almost becomes like mush or something. They
it,
don't actually die, but I guess they sort of maybe
it's
do because
replaced. It dissolves the existing brain, and then it's like a new brain,
yeah,
almost entirely new brain. And he made a reference to, well, anyone who's gone through a big failure or rejection or lost relationship or something, they
basically rewiring.
it is like a death.
Yeah.
It is a completely new start. But all of this stuff to say, face the world with courage. This crazy, chaotic, awful world with courage, not with fear, not in a timid way, not crunched up and, just expecting to get kicked in the teeth again. Well, actually, what he talks about with the lobsters is, if you give lobsters artificially the chemicals, serotonin and whatnot, they actually improve. Like, things change. They start to actually try and fight other lobsters. It says it's like Prozac for lobsters works actually the same way as it does in humans, right? It balances out, it elevates those serotonin levels. You can artificially do it just by standing up straight, right? And taking on the world and acting physically in a way that ultimately changes the chemical composition going on things in your body physiologically, and begin to make a change in your life. But what does this have to do with Jesus?
What does this have to do with Jesus? Well, also, while I was listening to this, I was also, other than actually a person or persons that I might know that would have been an example for this, I came up with a few. Noah, right? So God gave him something to do, and he said no. I'm going to get on this boat and I'm going to go the other way. I'm not going to face my
Jonah.
I'm sorry.
Jonah,
No,
yeah.
Noah did the boat, right? Sorry, gosh. Now I really feel stupid, but that's like how many animals did Moses have on the ark, right? That old joke, but yeah. So Jonah, right? So yeah, he gave him something to do, and instead of standing up straight, shoulders back, and facing it, no, he kind of ran away, and
it just got worse.
It was worse and worse. Yeah,
just got worse. Yeah.
So that was one that I thought of. Noah was actually another one, and then Daniel, David, and Jesus. Daniel had his times where he was challenged, and he, stood with God, or God stood with him, or
yeah,
and yeah, he suffered. I guess he may have gotten flipped over, but he got stronger from it and came back.
Well, he was being bullied, right?
Yeah.
Bow down and worship, or maybe that's Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. I think they were the ones that you're supposed to fall down and worship whenever the music played at this statue, golden statue or whatever. Daniel was, you're not allowed to pray to anyone except the emperor, right?
Right.
And he's like, whatever, I'm going to do that anyway. Not physically upright, shoulders straight up, shoulders back, right? But actually bowing, but bowing to someone far greater than Nebuchadnezzar.
Right. But standing up and saying...
The personal, the inward spiritual posture being like, no way am I listening to you.
Right.
I don't care what you say. And he goes and does it anyway, and they're spying on him, and they catch him and throw him in the lion's den, and then what? He wins. I mean, God wins, but, God is back. And I think that should be why we should be the most confident people on the planet, right? I get a lot of grief sometimes from people when they hear me say, People say, "Hey, how are you doing?" "Oh, better than I deserve." And there's a whole segment of people, particularly Christians, that really hate when I say that. In fact, I got into this. I didn't want to get into this debate. I was at the farmer's market selling kids' books, which, speaking of, there you go. If you're on the video, you can see I'm pointing at the books in the background here. So we're trying to sell these children's books. And it was somebody I knew. She's a wonderful person. And we started getting this conversation about that. Like, she is one of those people that just hated that comment. "How you doing?" "Better than I deserve." "Oh, no, you deserve so much." And I remember this one guy one time, he's like, "You're a child of the king. What are you talking about? Like, don't you dare say that." And I've always said it because, not always, but for a long time, I've said it mainly as a way to keep me humble. Like, oh, I deserve stuff. And you get cranky when you don't get it that way. So I'm just like, you know what? I am better than I deserve. I got a lot. I'm blessed. Right. Which maybe is a way of standing up straight with your shoulders back. Like, I don't have a reason I have a reason to be. Right. So That's just me. That's what works for me. But there is a lot to be said for, if you are a child of God, why should you ever not be confident and have this internal strength and boldness and just, hey, let's take on the world? Mm-hmm. I mean, Daniel, you mentioned, Noah. Hey, you're going to be the only family left on Earth. I mean, that's like, wow, okay. It could be a little scary. But
you're going to build a boat in the middle of nowhere. Yeah. And people are going to go by and laugh at you going, "What are you doing?"
But then what happens? The rain comes. The water washes everyone away. I mean, if that's not a reason afterward to just stand up straight with your shoulders back, take on the world, holy cow, dude. I mean, God was right, and he had your back, and he chose you, right? And if we're alive today, we're all descendants of Noah.
Right.
Because everyone else was gone. So who else did you mention? David,
right.
Yeah, Goliath. I mean,
he definitely had to stand up. I don't know how old he was. He was fairly young, though, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Teenager.
Like a little kid. He didn't even fit in Saul's armor. And
Saul was a pretty big guy, but
his big brothers were all ticked off at him. Get out, go home. What are you doing here? But stand up straight, shoulders back. I mean, whether he physically did that or not, I mean, he went up to Goliath and he's like, "Who are you to defy the armies of God?" Mm-hmm. Who are you? Right? I mean, that's not hey, take a look at me. Right? And I think that's maybe where this, we can sort of baptize this, right? Like, in Christ, when our confidence is in the God of the universe, what in the world do we have to, like, get all right? I mean,
right.
And he knocks him out with a stone, takes off his head, and everybody's running. And then he's got all these other battles. Saul is trying to kill him, and he just keeps going and going and going, and it's like it leads to victory after victory after victory. And there is the whole Bathsheba thing, But he's doing it. And then, of course, Jesus, right? You mentioned Jesus. What were you thinking about with Jesus?
He basically, in the garden, he asked if he could, if the cup could be passed, but no, I'll do, God's will. And so, I mean, he had to basically stand up straight and go in and be taken away by, the people that wanted to kill him. So, yeah, that's what I was thinking anyway. There's probably other examples in his life where you could look at that, but that was the one. Carry the cross, right? Carry your cross.
Mm-hmm.
Pick up your cross. And
boldness beyond anything that we would have exhibited. Right.
I think I would have probably tried to hit the road.
Well, but, a lot of people that follow Jesus after that, they actually do go through stuff like that. And that's where I think, his death, but then ultimately his resurrection, that's what gives people, that's what I think should give us this boldness, no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Jesus is alive. Go ahead, try and kill me.
Right.
Do it. There's these history books written about Christians that, people would just marvel. Look at how they die.
Right.
They just, Tim Keller, I know, brought this up one time, and he talked about how the Christians, when they were thrown to the lions, it just messed up the whole Colosseum experience. Because this is supposed to be entertainment. This is like entertaining people so that they don't rise up and revolt. This is very clever Romans, right? Among many other reasons,
They were very good at torturing people.
And they were very good at torturing people. And they knew violence was like a part of humanity, and people kind of had this fascination with it. But when they would throw other people to lions or to gladiators or whatever it was that they did that led to their death, they would generally laugh, right? Because they would either laugh because these ill-equipped, untrained people would try to run from a lion, right? Which is, you think you're going to get away from this lion? Oh, man, it's coming. Oh, yeah, dude. Or they would laugh because they decide to fight. Like, oh, he thinks he's going to kill the lion. He thinks he's going to. That's not going to work, man. But we're going to have fun watching while you meet your demise. But the Christians, they didn't run. They didn't fight. They just kind of stood there. They prayed. They sung hymns. They held hands, and, they were in solidarity sort of with their fellow Christians. And people were like, oh, what? Come on. What is that? That's not fun. And then plenty of people were just stunned. Wow. That's unbelievable. And so the confidence is in God and his faithfulness, and ultimately that we do win. Right? We win. In the end, we win. Completely, totally, in every way imaginable, and then some. So why are we going to meet less significant challenges with this? I don't know. Right?
Right.
Not that we don't sometimes, like me last week. But goodness gracious, in Christianity, you at least got something to grab onto to say, you know what? No, it's not going to stay this way. It's not going to be like this forever. God loves me. God moved heaven and earth to save me. This is not the end. I don't lose. I win. Eventually, I win. So I don't know. Did you think about that at all, or?
Yeah.
Come on, give me something. I mean, this isn't just me.
Couldn't correlate it exactly to the lobsters, right? But yeah.
No.
But yeah. So yeah, he going back to like what you said about the evolutionary stuff. I mean, I look at it from the other perspective is that, as Christians, we believe God created it all. So we have these things and all, these things, these neurological things are through, like you said, it goes back before the trees or whatever, if you looked at it like that. But it's all in there because it's the way that he created, right? This I know I heard, listen to some people say, and I don't know if you know fractals in math, or it's like you drill down and it's the same pattern,
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same pattern going up, so you can, in creation, you can see that same structure of how things work,
Yeah.
a high level to the lowest level, because it was all done by a creator, right? So that's my take on the evolutionary part of it, but not to say that there's, things that don't change and so on and so forth. But yeah, that helped me get through it. That's helped me get through a lot of evolutionary biology stuff. So,
Well, and either way, I mean, the bulk of what he talks about here is observable
right.
stuff, right? I mean, this is not sort of extrapolating out millions of years. I mean, this is stuff they observe now in lobsters. But when you add that evolutionary component, or not really, one of the points he made in that short abbreviated video was that these human hierarchies are not just a socio-cultural construct, right? Which I think is what's kind of going on today. A lot of the shifts in culture that we're seeing are all driven by this idea that, wow, there's this patriarchy that existed, and it's all because of a certain group of people and their take on civilization, and as if you can obliterate a hierarchy of some kind. Excuse me. And he's basically saying that, no, this has always been the way it is. It's older than trees
Right.
in our brain. Like, we are wired to sort ourselves. He's got a number of different laws that talk about, you basically can't change the fact that a disproportionate amount of wealth is going to end up in the hands of a disproportionately few people. You can't change the fact that a disproportionate amount of success is going to be in a disproportionately small group of people. You just can't. It always ends up that way. This is so he even brings up books, which I found interesting because we got some books, and people find it shocking when I say if you sell 1,000 copies of your book, you're in the top 1% of authors. 1,000 copies, 1%.
Doesn't sound like a lot. Yeah.
And he said in a given year, 1.5 million books, and of those, 500 account for, I forget the exact, but they're basically the books that are purchased. 500.
Yeah,
Out of a 1.5 million, that's 0.0333% of the books are actually books that make money.
Yeah.
So
what's it called? Pareto.
the Pareto distribution, I think. Yeah. He said
was
there's a guy.
Price's Law, I think.
Yeah. And this is more of a political take on it, right? So, but it was funny the way he said it. He's like, it's not just wrong to say that the patriarchy or whatever it is what's the reason why the world is the way it is, and we just have to deconstruct it and take it apart and everything's gonna be better. He's like, no, it's not just wrong. It's like mind-blowingly, wrong. It's like unbelievably wrong. Like, there is absolutely nothing that supports this idea, and everything that says it's just how things are. And he goes into this, presenting yourself to the world in a way that doesn't disgrace yourself, stand up, take some space, People start to give you the benefit of the doubt, take you seriously, and then why wouldn't we want a hierarchy that rewards smart, hardworking people? So
Yeah, he said that pattern, like you said, it's observable in any manner, any and all manners of. You can apply that principle,
whether we like it or not.
Well, even in so I do software work, and our databases are hierarchical. Actually, when you design something, a lot it's hierarchical, right? Because you always a lot of times you'll have an owner, and then you have members that are connected to that owner, which is a hierarchy. Yeah, so it's just. And if you look, I don't know much about Apple's. I use Microsoft, but their folder structure is a hierarchical folder structure. You have the C drive, then you have a row of folders, and then within my documents, you could have another. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. So yeah. So we
can't escape it.
Can't escape it, right?
Well, and. Was it this past Sunday, or maybe it was this morning? I read something from the Bible for chapel. James and John arguing about, hey, can we sit? We want to sit at the left and right hand of Jesus, right? There's a hierarchy. They're fighting over the hierarchy, and Jesus is tacitly acknowledging that there's a hierarchy, right? Even in eternity, in the eternal kingdom of Christ. There's some sort of hierarchy. It just doesn't suck to be at the bottom of it, probably, right? I mean, that's the basic difference. Everyone on their rung is doing what they're supposed to do, which means the whole thing works and everybody's happy. So,
right.
But why not you? Why not us? Why not me? Why not, hey, stand up straight, shoulders back, meet the world with courage, and confront the things that frighten you, because Jesus, right? There are some Bible passages that kind of talk like this.
Okay.
I printed some out.
There you go.
I mean, you got the guys, right? The people that, I'm sure there's more too.
Oh, yeah.
Probably every person.
Those are just the whatever number that I popped into my head. So
Paul, boldness before emperors. I mean, he says some pretty bold things to some pretty powerful people. I don't know. But 2 Timothy 1:7, God gave us a spirit not of fear, but of power and love and self-control. I mean, self-control is just like a standing up straight, shoulders back against yourself, in a sense, right? But that's still that confidence. Psalm 27, though an army encamp against me, my heart shall not fear. Though war arise against me, yet I will be confident. That's verse 3, but I mean the whole thing. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the stronghold of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? When evildoers assail me to eat up my flesh, my adversaries and foes, it is they who stumble and fall. And then verse 3, though an army encamp against me, my heart shall not fear. Joshua 1:9, have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. Right, and then 1 Corinthians 6, where the temple is the Holy Spirit. He's with you wherever you go. Like God is in you. What do you... Ugh. Oh, boy. Blessed is the one who trusts in the Lord, whose confidence is in him. Jeremiah 17:7. Right? What are we all weak and feeble and weary? I can't do it. I'm not going to get anywhere. Everybody's so scary, right? Me last week. But still, right? This is the pep talk that I needed. Come on, why didn't you give me the pep talk last week? You got to give me rule 1. Stand up straight with your shoulders back. Come on, Emil.
I did. I texted it to you.
A little late. But
I didn't want your brain to get rewired on the spot.
You waited too long. It was already getting rewired the other way. That's the lobster thing.
All right, my timing's not great.
No, it's fine. I'm just messing with you.
I'll work on my timing.
We got to start, in that video, he's
lobsters,
talking about how his students started, clacking their fingers or whatever, like
lobster, like claws.
Yeah. It doesn't make a whole lot of noise. Maybe snapping.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, whenever they got a good one on somebody else.
Yeah, I'm kicking your butt. I'm the dominant lobster. Get out of here. Give me your hole. Give me your cave, right? I want the top spot.
Yeah. He even sells lobster ties.
Does he? I'm gonna have to get me one of those. There's a ton more here, and I printed out. You can just what I typed in. What does the Bible say about confidence? I found a guy who had a blog, and then he listed his top 10. That was kind of the verses I was looking at. Proverbs 3, have no fear of sudden disaster or of the ruin that overtakes the wicked, for the Lord will be at your side and will keep your foot from being snared. Philippians 1, being confident of this, that he who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion until the day of Christ Jesus. I mean, hey, we're a work in progress, but that progress is sure and certain. Ephesians 3:12, in him and through faith in him, we may approach God with freedom and confidence. Right? Boldly approach the throne of grace. Right? Even coming into God's presence boldly, up straight, shoulders back, as a son, not as a servant, or right? 2 Corinthians 12:9. But he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore, I will boast all the more gladly about my weaknesses, so that Christ's power may rest on me. That's actually kind of like a interesting mix of, I don't know, we could probably spend a lot of time trying to pick that one apart, but I think the idea is still to be bold and confident and boasting about God's power and our confidence in him. Hebrews 13:6, so we say with confidence, the Lord is my helper, I will not be afraid. What can mere mortals do to me? So, I mean, there's just a ton of Bible passages, Psalms, the ones who trust in the Lord, not in chariots, not in princes, right? This is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. Right? Meet the day with joy and confidence. And then actually the one that I thought of almost right away with this rule was, I think it's in Luke 21. Jesus is talking about the end of the world. Maybe not quite the end of the world, because he's got a bunch of different things going on in there. He's sort of talking about the fall of Jerusalem. Things are going to be messy, and he wants them to just leave Jerusalem, just get out. And then he's talking about the end of the world also. But he says, when these things start to take place, lift up your heads, for your redemption is drawing near. And man, we got so many people terrified of the end times.
Right.
Like, oh, it's happening in Israel. Oh, it's happening here, there. And I'm not saying you shouldn't be aware of what's going on. But man, they're just so scared is what it feels like. And Jesus is saying, stand up straight with your shoulders back and meet it, because guess what? You win.
Look up.
Anyway.
Yeah.
I'm going to start boring people now if I haven't already. So what do you got? Anything? Any closing thoughts?
I'm going to try to approach the world standing up straight with my shoulders back, I guess.
Yeah.
It seems like the way to do it.
It's the way to do it.
Yeah, I guess we could have given movie passages too, huh? But we don't want to go too long on all that.
Got some?
Oh, I mean, every superhero or Rocky Balboa or, you name it. If it's a hero thing, at some point they had to stand up and face their challenges, right?
Yeah. Not like a bunch of wimps either.
Yeah.
You know?
That's why those themes resonate throughout, right? Because it fits into the pattern. It fits into
the pattern. That's right.
Yeah. So
That's the world. You got any other movie quotes, like specific ones? I know you're a superhero guy, right?
any
Batman is your
specific quotes. Well,
ever dance with the devil in the pale moonlight.
Well, just Batman. He was a child and his parents were killed. So instead of he could have just hid away in his mansion for the rest of his life, but he did it.
Just his entire persona.
Yeah. He adjusted him whole self, trained himself up to be strong and stand with his shoulders back and a cape on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Could have did that. Captain America in the Captain America movie.
Yeah.
He could do this all day.
He could do this all day. Yeah, and he was
getting the snot beat out of him too,
but he could do it all day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's inspiring, right? And that's why they pick him.
Right.
Well, not just that, but he's got there's a good quality to him.
Right.
Right.
Right. Now, the other one would be opposite of that would be, I guess, in one of the later Marvel movies with Thor, where he loses his hammer and he winds up being a big fat guy eating
drinking beer and just eating. Yeah.
So he didn't stand up. He kind of withered down and.
Well, but that was only temporary.
Right, it was, but
so.
Yeah, maybe he's getting his brain rewired. I don't know.
So maybe it's really like, it's not like we're not gonna turn into Thor for a period, you know, and we let our girthage develop and we indulge in ice cream and beer and Cheetos and whatever it was that he was getting into. But the quicker we end that, the quicker things maybe turn. Right. I have to watch that. What was that? The Infinity War? Because I feel like that's where it's with Thanos. That's
or it was Endgame maybe.
Endgame, okay. Maybe it was after Infinity War because of the snap and and so then this is
because he didn't take Thanos out when he could have maybe
something like that. But I'm actually very intrigued by the Batman one because we had my daughter was in a group text with some of her teammates on the swim team, and this one kid is asking, who's better, Batman or Spider-Man or something like that. And then it became this like Batman versus everybody, and we were all kind of like, Batman? I mean, who would win in a fight? I think that's what it was. Like, he's just a dude, He's just a dude. He can't beat Spider-Man. He can't beat Captain America. He can't beat, and he's like, all of his gadgets and, his training and all that kind of stuff. I'm like, well, they got the training too, and they got gadgets, and they're just like superhuman strong. They got that superhuman strength and more, and webs, and it's like, okay, yeah, you're stuck. You can't move. So Spider-Man wins, right? But from this perspective, it is far more, maybe inspiring because, like you said.
Yeah, he is human. So
he's human. He's like us.
Well, I mean, Spider-Man too, right? So he got the powers and was going to do, so what he decided to do, he was just going to slink around and make some money, and he didn't stand up to the to the robber, and the robber winds up killing his Uncle Ben. Then he had to learn his lesson, right? So then after that, he stood up,
Yeah.
So, but he never really had any fight training. He just had his powers that he learned how to use. Spider-Man. I don't know of anywhere in any of the comics where he was actually trained in any martial arts or anything like that, right? So.
Yeah, maybe not.
But he is super strong.
He seems to move like it in the movies, like.
Right.
Maybe that's just the natural Spidey instinct to like. I don't know.
Now I know we're losing everybody. That's
No, I don't know. Any other movie quotes? Movie
quotes.
references? Well, you mentioned Heartbreak Ridge before we got started.
Oh, that was because of you said you were wearing the wrong shirt.
That wasn't the wrong shirt, but it wasn't maybe the same shirt as the CDC staff today. It's like there were at least 2 or 3 of them wearing the CDC tie-dye shirt, and then Heartbreak Ridge wearing the, yeah.
Oh, he basically, Clint Eastwood had to teach, Gunny had to teach his platoon how to stand up
Straight with the shoulders back.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There were some scenes in there where there was a guy in there called the Swede. He was just this monstrous, like Thor-looking guy, right? And he basically went in one afternoon and started telling them, you better clean up these barracks and get things straight, whatever. And they're like, no, the Swede's back. Swede's going to take him out, and we're just going to keep living our easy life here on the base, And the Swede came out, and Swede met his match. Clint Eastwood didn't back down.
Yeah. Stand up straight, shoulders back.
Put him in an arm bar and punch him in the face.
Well, and that's back to the threat of violence idea. Like, eventually, sometimes you got to actually back it up, right? You can't just fake it forever. But, yeah, I think you sent me a clip of that fight scene.
Did I?
A while back, yeah.
Maybe
years,
so.
maybe.
Okay. I don't remember.
But I mentioned one of my favorite fictional characters. That's like one of his favorite movies, supposedly.
Okay.
Psych.
Oh, okay.
The TV show Psych. Carlton Lassiter is.
That's strange.
Like the head detective of the Santa Barbara Police Department, and Clint Eastwood is like his guy. He's just like, he's just like a hyperbolic, everything cliche about like some, I don't know, overzealous cop, who just really loves getting the bad guys and loves his guns and loves, just over that. Clint Eastwood is his hero. And I know he references Heartbreak Ridge a couple of times. Now I want to know. My daughter might know. One of my daughters, she's got the show cataloged in her brain, and she's got all these random references all the time, and I usually get them, but not always. And then I have some that she doesn't get, and so she might know the Heartbreak Ridge one. I don't know. I'll have to ask her. Otherwise, I'm going to have to watch the whole series again to find it. Or actually, no, there's a group on Facebook, the Psychos or the Psych Fanatics something Facebook page.
You could probably search it or
and
something.
just say, hey, what episode does Lassiter or Lassie, as they call him, reference Clint Eastwood's Heartbreak Ridge? And someone will know.
There you go.
It's like a collective artificial intelligence of all the freakish fans of this one TV show.
Oh,
anyway.
There's pages like that for who can beat Batman, right? So it's like, all right, at some point, these are fictional characters.
Yep.
And it all depends on who the writer is. So,
yep.
Yeah. So, but anyway.
Well, now we've lost them.
Yeah. Sure.
That wasn't your fault. It was mine. But hey, everybody, stand up straight with your shoulders back. Just confront the world in a courageous manner, if for no other reason than because of Jesus. If you don't know Jesus, then you should get to know Jesus. Jesus is the crucified, risen King of the universe, and he's coming back, and he's got a victory for his people, for the children of God, and that victory is 100% certain. And so there's nothing that we shouldn't face with our heads up, stand up straight, shoulders back, and I think it'll do us a world of good now, too. So, all righty. Y'all, great to be with you. hope to catch up with you again real soon next week. Hopefully, rule number 2. And make sure you like and share and comment and all those wonderful things. And you can also support Open Arms Ministry by donating to Open Arms. But also this book right here, Open Arms, Connecting People to Jesus, if you're watching on the screen. I'm trying to do my best little long-distance finger pointing thing, like the Leaning Tower of Pisa type, people put their hands up or top the
I'm gonna bring a flashlight next time so you can
put
put it on the book.
Yeah. Nobody's Nola, great little kids book about how we got our dog based on a true story. And then Nola's first trip, she's started to travel around the world. And we're going to teach kids. We are teaching kids about different places and about life. It's really a fantastic book. I'm not just exaggerating because it's a fantastic book. A lot of effort and thought went into it. There I am, standing up straight with my shoulders back.
Nola
All right, everybody. It's a great book.
And Nola does that in her second book for sure.
Yeah. Nola faces and stands up straight, shoulders back. She's got to face a challenge, right? An adventure. So
She didn't just lay down and cry.
But be great for you to support us that way. But just keep listening and share the love with